All right, welcome, my peoples. This is the Black Opinionated Woman here, and also known as a B.O.W. And today we are talking about, oh, geez, what is going on here? And now we're talking about Obama and everybody's feelings about it. Why are we so divided? Let me go ahead and play my intro and get started while I try to launch this on Instagram as well. So. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, I am trying to set this up live here on my Instagram is so shady right now. So, all right, guys. So this is the first time that I'm doing this on two platforms. I'm going live here. Hi, Instagram. I don't really have that many followers. So anyway, yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm going to talk about, Black people, why we're so divided. This Obama thing has everybody in their feelings. So let me get to my page and get my situation going. First of all, what I want to do is say thank you to anybody who chooses to chime in. Okay. I'm going to put my disclaimer up here because, people can be in their feelings. So, for those of you on Instagram, what I'm doing is I'm putting up a disclaimer that's basically saying that these are just opinions and all statements are alleged until proven to be true or not true. So they may be, look, I don't want any drama. So we're just going to talk about our feelings and our opinions. Now, anything that I may or may not say, I actually have done some level of research here. So I pulled up a couple of facts and I'll try to cite where I got them from. But that's just where I'm at with it, okay? So, okay, let me check and make sure my situation is good here. All right. All right, so let me bring in somebody here, add to the stream. Hi, CPR kid.
Hey, Pasa, how
How's
we
it
doing?
going? Well, I have you here. I was supposed to have all these things ready to go, and here I am. Like, at the
Okay,
last second. Why do I have to be so tacky?
it happens. It's a learning experience. It
Oh my
happens.
gosh. Yeah. So what I wanted to do was make sure I had these things open. So like when I'm sharing my screen or anything like that, it automatically takes me there versus me saying, hold on, let me open this up. Sometimes I
Gotcha.
keep trifling. All right, let me see. Do I
Gotta
have
be ready to go.
all right. So anyway, what I wanted to do first was before I get into anything, if at any time, if you like the content, can you guys go ahead and just like it? Just say I like it, and you show me that you like it by saying it or actually hitting the like button. Just it's not that hard. Just hit it. Just hit the like button. Or better yet, subscribe. Go ahead and you go ahead, CBR. Go ahead and hit that like button.
Commitment.
Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe,
Yes.
comment. Let's
Comment.
get over
It's
these
totally
commitment
true.
issues.
It's gonna commitment issues. That's right. Share it with your people. Wow, everybody always wants to blow you up as soon as you go on live. I get all the text messages and everything. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do was again, thank you for coming on. I know this is a hot topic. I suspect there will be a couple more people joining on when they get their lives together. So one of the things I wanted to say is I just want to talk about myself for a second. So
Okay.
I voted for former president. I guess you could still say president. I guess once you've been a president, you're always a president, which is weird. I never understand that language, right? By the way, do you notice I have another light going on over here that I've had that I haven't tried using? I guess not. I have different settings and everything. It looks good on Instagram, but over here, I'm like, it's like, so yeah. So I voted for 44 President Barack Obama both times.
Me too.
Okay. However, I would say that when I went into, oh, I have somebody coming in. I'm going to bring her up, but I'm going to have ask. Okay. Hi, Yolanda. Yes, what
Hi.
I'm going to remove you from the stream for a second. Can you just show me your face? You will not be shown. I just want to make sure you're a real person. You're not like doing anything. Okay. Now you can go back and cam back up. Thank you. We don't want any surprises. All right. So what I was going to do was, and I'm going to bring you in. I'm getting text message right now that they're still in their meetings. So one of the I wanted to say was when I first started voting for the whole Barack Obama like team, my perspective on Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, I won't say it was completely different. I think my expectations for Barack Obama were different. And I think primarily because I hate to say it, but I was looking at him as if he had a different experience anyway as a Black person. Okay. So I was hopeful, but not necessarily thinking that there was going to be, I didn't have these major expectations. I don't know if that makes
Right.
any sense. Okay. So, I know there's going to be some people joining on, and I'm being texted right now. There's a lot of things going on, like still the meeting, blah blah. So bear with me while all this. I see D Shabazz is coming in. I'm going to add him to the stream too. So when I voted for Barack Obama, I had no major illusions, right? Like I rooted for him, I was hopeful, but as a Gen Xer, I felt like much or many of the Black politicians that have been put into office by, when I say us, I mean there's other people who vote, um, but by us, I just felt like they've been raggedy anyway, and they don't necessarily accomplish things. So I was hopeful, but I don't think I was under this impression that he was going to be this major savior. Let me change this ticker real quick. Anyone who chooses to come on here is a willing participant. Okay, so this is being recorded. This will be posted to YouTube. So if you come on, as long as I see your face before I bring you to the stream, that's fine. I just don't want anybody, performing special acts in the background, and I don't know this, and then I get surprised when I bring you up. So, but that's where I was coming from with Barack Obama. But what I found is that there's a lot going on. We all have a lot to say. All right. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to post the first question. The first question I want to talk about was the Black stance on Barack Obama generational? Okay. Was the support or lack of support due to whatever generation you were part of? And anybody can chime in whenever they want. What do you think? I have my adult.
Was it generational? You know what? I really couldn't tell you. I don't haven't never actually dug into those numbers. Um, I'm always curious what the stance actually was. What did people expect this man to do when he took office? That's more of my questions. What was the stance? What did people expect?
Well, before we even address that, let's talk about, do you think it was generational as far as how he was received? Or do you think in general, outside of education, do you think he was well received by everyone? I'm now talking within the Black community, by the way.
Okay. It's, in my experience, just people that I know, he seemed like he was well received by everybody.
Okay.
I can't.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Yolanda?
No, I said I think he was received by everybody to start. I think when he came, that if you think back to that first night when he won and the family walking across the stage, and there was a picture of people standing there. Jesse Jackson was crying. You had so many young people that had voted, so it was cross generational to start. But I think as we started to look at policies and such, that's when I think you started to see more of the, fracturing, and not so many of us being so excited about the symbolic meaning of, Obama as president of the United States.
Yeah, I will say when he first took the stage with his family, and I still say this, I believe they were absolutely beautiful. They are a beautiful family. I still believe they are a beautiful family. They're very picturesque. He's tall, all these things that people look for. And I think what I liked about it, and I hate to say it now, this is some sort of colorism. Can you have reverse colorism? I loved that this wasn't a woman who was racially ambiguous. She was a full on, fully melanated Black woman, and she was tall. And, she was not like slight in stature, like, like this ultra feminine, like, you know what I mean? Not that she wasn't feminine, but she was a fully melanated, educated, unapologetic Black woman. And I liked that it was okay to present, this was how they were going to present women, because we know in the media images of Black women are not that. So this is what he had on the stage, and I think it was important for people to see that. Now, granted, I was looking at some different stuff. I'm like, yes, look at his Black wife. Like, I wasn't thinking about him per se, whereas, perhaps maybe other generations were looking at, some we shall overcome, and finally we got a black, so I mean, and I get it, like, I get it. Representation does matter, and I'm going to come back to the representation portion in a second. I'm curious to see, what do you think, Dishabaz?
Yeah, actually, it looks like he said he was going to log off and jump back in. He was having some problems. I think
Okay,
he
I didn't
posted that in
see
the
it.
chat.
I'm having some issues. I'm going to log off and log back on. Okay. I did not see that. So let me go back. I'm going to take this question down so I can see everybody. Okay. Well, I would say, getting to the representation portion, I think representation is good. I think it is necessary, but I think this is where it comes from. So I had a conversation with someone, who was in a generation older than me. It was at work. We had a lengthy discussion on, the former president, Barack Obama, and representation. And when I had mentioned, and this is going to actually touch on some other questions, but one of the things we were talking about was, what did he do for Black people as far as in a level of specificity?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, he was hope. He provided representation. And I'm like, I just paused. I'm like, well, the audacity of you to say that to me. I was actually offended. And he couldn't comprehend my offense, or me being offended at that statement. And well, let me say, what do you think about that before I get into my thoughts?
Well, I mean, you've heard me say it before. I mean, what was he supposed to do specifically? I think people had unrealistic expectations of what. Okay, we got a Black president now. He's going to solve all Black people's problems. I think that's Black people's problem in the first place. Is you expect that, okay, this one Black person rose to a position of prominence. Now he's going to solve all the problems that exist in Black America, and that's just not. It's not realistic. I'm not going to use that word. It's an unrealistic expectation of a person. My thing is, hey, you saw him do it, so now you can't say it can't be done. Now there's no excuse for the next person not to do it, or the next person to come up with an excuse why they can't be president, or why they can't be this or that, because what's special about him? That he did it, so why couldn't you do it? Most people, my opinion, talk a good game, but if you say, well, why don't you go ahead and do it? They don't. They become abba abba abba. So
What's up?
when I say abba 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 means they start stuttering over their words, and you're like,
Like, I don't know
well,
what that is.
he laid the blueprint for you. Go to law school, get in the local government, get into the House, get into the Senate, do your thing, become president. Laid the
Well, he was
blueprint.
only a state senator though, and that was one what a state. Was he
Yeah,
ever
you're
a
right.
senator from Illinois, or was he just a state of Illinois senator?
I think
I
he was
can't
in this. I
remember.
think he was in the state senate in Illinois. Then he did become a senator from
Or like a
Illinois.
yeah.
It wasn't very long though.
But his moment, and the reason we probably even got Barack Obama anyway was from that speech
Mm-hmm.
he gave at the Democratic National Convention. We're not red states and blue states, we're the United States. Like,
Yeah.
that was really what rocketed him. I don't know that we would ever have had a Barack Obama had not that speech taken place. Because I think what happened was the DNC saw that And his background, let's be honest, because you were talking about representation, he's a biracial man, so he is of a certain complexion. You know, he did have a certain pedigree. You know, he's Ivy League. You know, so there's a lot of things in place in his background, honestly, that a lot of the other folks had, but it's just he was, the right person at the time. And I think at that point, America kind of thought it wanted to not be so racist. And they were thinking that electing him would kind of like move us in the right direction and absolve us of all the things that had happened before. But I always go back to policy is policy, and anybody that you put at the top of our government is a representation of American imperialism first. So
I wanted
that's
to
where I
read,
stand.
I wanted to read this chat message by Gloria Miller. It says Muhammad Ali on intermarriage. He said, "No intelligent black man or black woman in his or her right black mind wants white boys and white girls coming to their homes to marry their black sons and daughters." And I'm curious as to, I haven't heard that in a while, but I'm trying to make the connection to what it was you were mentioning. Gloria, would you like to share a little bit more as far as where you were going with that? I do remember him. I didn't remember the exact words, but I do remember this sentiment. But I'm trying to make that relation to um, Obama. So this is what I wanted to say when I was talking about the generational stance, and I know TBS mentioned, well, what were you expecting him to do? So remember, like I was saying, I don't think I had any great expectation of him solving world hunger or the economic plight of the black family. Where my offense came in was when this dingaling was like, well, he gave us hope. And I'm like, wait a second. Now, what we're not going to do is gaslight me into thinking like that's all I need, right? I'm like, because what happened was during his presidency, he fought for other groups. He provided for other groups, right? And my concern was, why is it that the other groups get concrete things, stuff, not just representation, but for the blackity blacks, we should just be happy with some hope. Now, I didn't have any great expectations, but you can't tell me, oh, but he gave you hope, though. I'm like, well, so that's when we started to have a lot more of our communication discourse. It started to fall apart because he kept trying to sell me that I should be excited that he provided me with hope. I'm like, they're not mutually inclusive, right? Um,
I think he was using the wrong word.
yeah, I just
I think
kind
he
of
was
felt like,
articulating that wrong.
exactly. I said, me not having any great expectations that he was going to, patent perpetual gravity or anything like that is separate from me being happy that he provided me with hope. And then furthermore, his response was, well, but representation matters and you should be happy that he represented black people. He was articulate and all this stuff. I'm like, well, wait a second. You don't get to tell me what should make me happy. Hi there, Instagram. You don't get to tell me what makes me happy. I'm like, wait a second. I have other things that makes me happy. Okay, so that's where we started to have this discourse, with the whole President Obama thing. Let me add D. Shabazz back into the screen. Welcome back, D. Shabazz. What do you think about President Obama as far as, do you think there was a dividing line between the various generations and how they perceived Barack Obama, or do you think in general he was just well received? I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me? I'll wait and see what's going on because I'm not sure. Oh, there you are. I think you're coming in.
I can hear you. You're coming a little choppy at first, but repeat the question.
Okay, so the question was, do you think that there was a generational stance as far as how President
Can you guys hear
Obama
me?
was?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Do you think there was a general? Do you think the generational? Man, I can't even get a word. Do you think that the way President Barack Obama was received was based off of a generational stance, or do you think in general everyone just received him well when he was first elected? Adult juice.
Wait a minute. It was choppy again. So ask your question one more time.
All right, I'm gonna need you to get your audio together. Okay, so what I said was, let me put the question back on. Let me go back to the question. Maybe that'll help. Was the black stance
Yeah, I
as
don't know
far
what's going on here. It's very choppy.
was the black stance on Obama generational, meaning how well he was received? Was it just primarily one group of people that received him well, or was it everyone who received him well and held him in such high regard? Now, this is within the black community.
Okay, within the black community, I think he represented at the time that he got elected. It was kind of like how black people were about black television shows in the '70s. Didn't matter how well that program, how well the program might have been written or whatever, or how bad it was. We were just happy to see black folks on TV, and I think that's the equivalent of Obama. We were just happy to see somebody black in the White House, not really realizing the full scope of him being in the office and what that meant.
Okay, that's fair. So one of the things, I'm sorry, let me catch up on some of the comments, guys. I know I'm a little slow on getting these comments put up here. So I just reposted that question, was the black stance generational? I wanted to go back to what Gloria was, she had made a couple of comments earlier and I was trying to make the tie. So let me see here. There's a striking kinship between our movement and Margaret Sanger's early efforts. Okay. And then let's see here. The Obama administration has given its blessing to Pepsi to continue utilizing the services of a company that produces flavor chemicals for the beverage giant using absorbed human fuels. Okay, so this is clearly like some sort of troll or something. All right. I don't know what that is. So getting back to what I was saying, I thought in the beginning what we were going to, okay, I think there we go. I see you there, Yolanda. So one of the things what I was getting at was the reason why I brought up that question, because to me, I got the impression when President Obama was elected, I think in general, everyone was hopeful and you wanted to see something, right? I was one of those people. I was hopeful, but hope wasn't necessarily like good enough. Representation wasn't like good enough. But I did not have any high expectations that he was going to accomplish all these major things because look at the Congress we had. People, this country's got a lot of mess. And usually, from what I've seen, is when we would put certain people in positions, in political positions, right? They have done so wrong. Now, I live in Maryland. They consider this DMV. So even at our local levels, we had Jack Johnson hiding, telling his wife hiding stuff in the bras and stuff. We had Miriam Pugh, was it Miriam Pugh, whatever it was, out of Baltimore, with the whole scandal with the books thing, and the cops, and there's just so much going on with even just within our local government. Okay, so we were robbing from each other. I'm being taxed, and I'm like, I'm doing a lot right now. So there's all that going on. And so for me, I'm like, okay, now you're looking at this at a national scale. The stakes are larger. We should be concerned with some of the you know, international things that are going on. You know what I mean? So anyway, I didn't have any high expectations for Barack Obama. So anyway, okay, I don't know about this Gloria person. This is clearly a troll, and I don't feel like getting into it right now. So anyway, I'll move on to that question then, because that was the first one I wanted to put out there. But this is the other question I wanted to ask. I have about 4 main questions, and then I have some sub questions. This is what I wanted to talk about. There were various expectations of performance. Okay. And there was a lack of specificity, I think, when it came to Black people. So although now this is, it's going to sound like I'm being like hypocritical, or maybe more so like I'm splitting hairs. I'm riding the fence. I don't think he lended a level of specificity to Black people. I think he was probably one of the best presidents we've had. And I know people can't. A lot of times people are like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" I do believe he was a good president. He just didn't go hard for black people. Okay. Now, before people say no, 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 I just want to put up
Well,
this little question. He said,
I guess it depends on what are we grading this on, because that's can be kind of graded on the curve right there.
yes, it can be, but he said this: I'm not the president of Black America. True. I'm the
Okay,
president.
but don't
He,
cut. Well,
hold on, let me just read.
I'll hold off on that point because when you
He
bring that
said,
up, that really boils my blood when I hear that.
But
well, he
that's
said,
the
I'm not the
truth.
president of Black America.
No, wait, well, I got pushback from that when he said
Just
that
read the
though.
quote. Let me read the quote. I'm not the president of Black America. I'm the president of the United States of America. He said in an interview in 2012 with Black Enterprise. Okay, go ahead, jump on in there.
I mean, that's
Okay,
people could feel how they want about that statement, but that is the truth. When you get that job, the title is President of the United States of America, regardless of what the hell your race is, whatever your race is. Now, obviously, he got a lot of support from the black community. That goes without saying, because we wanted to see him in there. But whether you like it or not, his job is to run the country, not just to run the country as it relates
right,
to black people.
right, and
Period.
and and when I say that, when he made that statement, that was fine, okay, but don't come at the last minute when I don't know if you remember when he was backing Hillary Clinton and he came to, I guess it was the Congressional Black Caucus dinner or some kind of black focus
Mm-hmm.
event, and he was like, it will be a shame to my legacy if this constituent doesn't come out and vote for me and this, that, and the other. And after all that was what happened, and him not even doing um, some kind of executive order or an executive level to have some kind of oversight patrol or a board against nationally against all police departments, because under his watch you had a lot of black men who were getting shot and killed that became national news on his watch. But at the same time, at the last minute, he's gonna come to black folks and talk to black folks like he did us a favor, or we owe him something. And then the minute he said that this constituent has to come and do whatever and vote for me or to be a legacy, a shame of my legacy. At that moment, I was like, look here, Igor. No, go say that to the LGBT and all that other folks. Remember, you ain't the president of Black America. You're the president of all of America. So say that mess to everybody else. Don't come over here at the last minute when you have not said anything, you've not done anything for this constituent that backed you all the way to get to your presidency, and you took us for granted. No, go sit down. Don't come here with
But
that
it,
mess.
but again, what was he supposed to do specifically for black people?
What was he
That's the
supposed to
question
do?
I always have specifically.
I can just name some that not necessarily can directly for black folks, but we can be kind of directly to black folks. But at
Okay.
least got the he could at least got on his watch the the Army Corps of Engineers
Mm-hmm.
and dealt with the water issue in Flint. He chose not to do that. He chose to let those folks have poison in their water. And now it's even to the case now that you even have the other city in Michigan. Uh, can't think can't think of the other city in Michigan, but it's predominantly black. They're having the same issue. He could have done
Okay.
that. Okay. He could have
Okay.
also, like I said, he could have also put together an oversight on an executive level of
Mm-hmm.
of a police task force to examine all these police departments going on in the nation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He could have also, on his watch, issued an apology to what happened to the descendants of American chattel slavery. He could have signed that. That's all the things he could have done that was specifically tailored for black people.
Okay. Fair enough.
Do you have anything you want to say,
But no, he
Yolanda?
gonna come at the last minute talking about, well, at the last minute, he gonna come to us like we owe him a favor. No, sit down. And the thing I don't like about now, after you notice he's in hiding. You don't see him because he know he did nothing for black people. And the fact that him and his wife, and I forgot whatever Netflix special she had, and she talking about she was disappointed in black people or whatever for not voting. Like we owe her some favor. They act like they're entitled, or they just like black folks are just supposed to vote for them regardless of whatever they've done or whatever their inactions.
But the Netflix special came out after they were out of office. So
Right.
saying that
But I'm saying,
she was disappointed in black people for not voting would apply to the last election. They weren't a part of that.
right. And she was saying it like it made them feel bad. It reflected on them. Like black folks owed them some kind of favor to come back out. Just like he just said
No
that
question. So honest
that
question.
speech that gave back
Was she saying it in that context, or is
Hillary
that how
Clinton.
you took it?
If this constituent doesn't come out and vote, say what?
I said,
took what he said.
Was she saying it in that context, or was that how you took it? Because I'm like, it like,
Yeah,
I
in
would
that
think
context
that
that she was talking
I would
about.
think that
It was in
her
the same
saying
context. She
that.
was.
Go ahead. I'm.
It was in that same context of how Obama came and spoke to the CBC. Like black folks owe them some kind of favor, like they did black people a favor.
No, well, I guess what I'm asking is, what favor would black folks have been doing them to come out and vote in the last election? It wouldn't have affected them one way or the other.
It made them think that they had some kind of control and mastery over black people, and the fact that they're entitled to black votes, and that that we've been blessed to have them in our presence in our lives or whatever. They have such of an entitlement mentality, and that they really think that they've done something special for black people.
I don't know. Okay. I don't
Well, that's
see
how
it
it came
that way,
across
but
to me. It came
yeah,
across to me, and I know a lot of other black folks who felt the same way.
yeah, but now here's my question: was she telling the truth? That black people need to get
The
out and
truth.
vote. Is that the truth?
No, that's not the truth. Vote for what? We got to have an
For,
agenda and something to vote for. Voting just for voting's sake is just an exercise in foolishness.
Well, this is the thing.
It may very well be, but I'm just saying, if you don't participate at all, then you can't complain one way or the other about the result.
Okay, wait. We participated now. We can still complain. Either way, if you don't have anything on it, look, voting without an agenda is foolishness. If you vote just for voting's sake, that's stupid. And what's been happening with black folks over the last 50 years, and
I was going to say that's what we've done. That's what we've been
exercise,
doing.
or what you was
Correct.
Well, I guess my thing is, when you look at
I believe that we've been black folks for the last 50 years. We've been voting in a sense of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results.
All right, Albert Einstein.
I've used that definition so many times I can't even count it. So
let me pull out Einstein.
Say what?
I said you went to Einstein.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you. What?
I said you went to Einstein.
And I'll say I've used that insanity definition a million times in a million different situations.
I would say this is the thing. I think with black people, it doesn't really matter if we, let me rephrase that. If we don't vote, it's like you're not participating. But even when we do vote and there is an agenda, I don't think there's any agenda out there that black people are going to be happy with. I don't.
We have to push the agenda. No, number one, we have to push the agenda. And number two, there's nothing wrong with using the power of abstaining. We have an agenda, and the power that worked in South Africa. That was a tactic that was used in South Africa.
Why are we talking about South Africa? We're the same. We're different people.
No, we're just talking about the voting strategies. We're just talking about voting strategies in the context of voting. But anyway, we go back to Obama. But
so I'm trying to tell my kids to stop texting me. Don't text me. My kids are blowing me up right now. So I would say with I think the thing with, like I said, with Obama, and we talk about like what was done. I think the biggest thing that black people have was there wasn't a level of specificity, right? So on one hand, I think he was probably the best president. I mean, because he was for everybody. If he's operating under those guises, then yeah, he was, right? He tried to do things to affect the masses. I'm just under no illusion that he was going to do these things for black people. So I want to put up this other thing. I wanted to put up something real quick.
Well, let me just push back on that everybody thing. There's an old saying, is the fact that when somebody says that you love everybody, and in fact that means you really love nobody. So, and in that context, if he did things for everybody, that means he did nothing. He basically did things for nobody.
I'm going to get involved in philosophy tonight, but okay, we can go. But I was going to say, like, what did he do for white people? Now,
Well, he
This
did
is
a
how.
lot for the white homosexuals.
Hold on, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I want to start. This is what he did for white people. First of all, they believed that we were post-racial. So I think people felt like they didn't have to do any work. People started getting lazy. They felt like, what do you want? We gave you a black president. Like, I think it gave people, I'm trying to get my kids to shut up. I'm going to mute myself for a second.
Uh-oh.
Somebody about to get
Somebody about to get a black mom.
No.
Sorry, I had to get
You had to,
out of myself for a second so they can get the point.
had to break the belt out for a second.
Mhm.
So I think the biggest thing was the first thing was, it was like the softening of America, right? It was like, we gave you a black president. We're post-racial now. We're not
Right.
racist. We're not any of those things. See, I think that was the softening of America.
Now, what does that mean?
Actually,
Softening. What does that
I
mean?
actually think it kind of went the other way as well. I mean, there was
Other
a
way,
segment.
because
I think it was a segment that went that way, and then just him being in office exposed the other segment that it really brought
Well,
the,
I put that up because I don't
the
want to jump
closet
in.
racists out.
I say this because really it would. I have a fourth point, and I was going to talk about reparations, and it's kind of like with so before I get there, this is the other thing I wanted to say. This is what he did.
well,
Now, it started off with this for the white
well,
community, but this is what
well,
he
can I
did for
say this? That statement that said he helped white America. No, he had white America and be delusional that we were post-racial, because the
well,
effects afterwards, like George Floyd and all the other stuff, shows is we're not, the U.S.
It
isn't.
just catered to their sense of always wanting to be seen as like benevolent and, that whole white savior complex. Like, look, we're good people. It's kind of like, we'll do this because it shows it's the whole liberal piece of it, because conservatives still felt the same. Like, they were still organizing and all that kind of stuff. It's white liberals who really push the whole post-racial discussion about,
BS.
which it wasn't conservatives. Like I said, they still were doing their stuff, but the liberals, it made them feel better. And that's where we are with, racial things anyway. Like, it makes me feel better. That's why I like movies where there are white saviors in it, because you can forgive all the other stuff they did that's institutional. And this guy gave somebody, a new bike so he could ride and deliver papers. And that then makes everything else better.
Yeah. Well, I guess from my point of view, I don't kind of separate the white liberals from the white conservative. They're both one and the same. It's like the old saying: you have the left wing, right wing, same bird.
It's all white supremacy.
Yep.
It's just, is it white supremacy as wine or white supremacy as some naughty head liquor?
It's interesting because when I had that conversation with my former coworker, and by the way, I had nicknamed him Sambo, but I really I did, because it was like he was a real live runaway slave, and he was always like, "Well, you don't want to
He's
upset."
like Uncle Ruckus. Well, it's kind of like the difference. We got different. Some of the black folks in the political realm now, be it on the Democrat or the Republican. One, you got one that's Uncle Ruckus, and you have the other one that's Uncle Remus.
Before I jump into that, because somebody's phone is extremely loud, so I might need you to mute that. My coworker, he lived. I honestly think he was a real live runaway slave. Like, he ducked his head. He was talking like, "Oh, we don't want to upset." Like, he was from Mississippi. Not that Mississippi has anything to do with it, but I think his generation and there's some things that he would say that's problematic. His whole thing was Obama was the best. He gave us hope and representation,
And that's
and
all the Negroes can say. Anyway, go ahead. My bad.
and he felt like the whole thing when Trump was elected, that, well, he was just this big racist. I'm like, yeah, but we can't pin racism on Trump. Like, he's not the singular point of failure. He was just highlighted. But let's make this clear. I said, you do recognize and understand that the left is racist too. There's a lot of internal biases and things that are happening. And I had asked him one time, I said, let me ask you a question. Is Biden a racist? And he was hemming and hawing and shucking and jiving. I think he was playing that banjo back there.
See?
Like,
And that's what you got to know.
he was doing a lot. And I kept asking him, is Biden a racist? Is Biden a racist? And he wouldn't talk. I'm like,
And
is
he
he?
wouldn't answer it. Yep.
He said, well, what he did was he kind of deflected and said, at least he's for I'm gonna butcher what he said. I forgot. I'm gonna summarize, okay? Hence, hold on, let me put this up here, put my little ticker up here. These are just opinions. All statements are alleged. What he said was Trump is lacking in humanity and he is a racist and he's all these things. And at least Biden has some level of humanity, whatever. And I'm like, okay,
He
but
still didn't answer the question. Yeah,
I'm
he
like,
still didn't answer the question.
because you can have empathy for people as far as a person and still be a racist. And I'm like, and you need to
Right.
understand. And he couldn't understand. I said, well, he was like, I don't know if he's really a racist. I'm like, well, let's just talk about that 1994 crime bill. Let's just talk about that by itself. Nothing else. What are your thoughts on that? There was silence. And I said, well, what about when he came out as a segregationist? Hold on, I need to yell one more time. Excuse me.
Uh-oh. About to get that black mom beat down.
Yeah, that's funny. Like now, a lot of the black folks now they have voters remorse with Biden and don't want to be honest of who we knew who you were putting him in office. And even still, my bad. Go ahead, finish the story.
Well, no, so I had asked him these questions, and he was just like, he's Obama's friend and some of those stuff. I'm just like, I just want to know, is he a racist?
Who said he was Obama's friend? He was the vice president. That don't mean they were friends.
Right. And Obama, and remember, Obama picked him. Remember, Obama picked him to get the blue white collar,
Right.
i.e.,
Need them
racist liberal vote.
Yeah,
Obama was smart enough to know I can't win with the black vote only. Period. If every black person in America voted for Obama and nobody else did, he would have lost. So he knew that.
So
but he knew he needed the black vote to win.
Yeah,
he knew that too.
So let's not forget that. Let's not discount the black vote. So
right.
No.
I'm
not discounting. I'm just saying we only make up 13%
Plus
of the
about
population.
So, hey, wait. And the other thing that you just said, we only make up 13%. There was an article that just came out, talked about how the black folks numbers have been undercounted. So our population
really? Okay.
So our population could be more than like. Say it again.
Okay.
I say because we just don't trust the census in general. So we oftentimes are oftentimes underreport.
Yeah.
So our numbers could really be more than 20 and 25%.
Yeah, you're right.
And
you're right.
Here's the other thing: if you look at folks in the dominant society, if we were only 15 or 13% or whatever, they wouldn't act the way they do towards us if it was such a slow or insignificant number.
Well, they realized politically and counting. I think I don't know who I was listening to, but basically, when you look at like some of the voter suppression things going on, they understand that let's just say a Democrat only needs 40% of white folks to vote for them when all the other demographics are voting in such large percentages, like the 95 and above for people. So that's one of the fears. Like they don't want that. They don't want only 40% of the white folk having a good heart.
Well, I was just gonna say,
if you even believe that,
right? I'm just
so one of the other things I wanted to say was what he did. So he gave white people this notion of, hey, we're post-racial, right? So now we go move over to the Latino community. So he helped get someone placed on the Supreme Court. And then he protected the Dreamers in, was it 2008? It might be 2012. I got to go back and look.
It was under his administration, either way.
Yeah, so he
So, yeah.
protected the Dreamers from deportation. Now, this is where I will probably differ from many other people. I don't have a problem with immigration and that type of thing. I'm one of those people. I'm like, as long as Black people are taken care of, I don't care. Like the spillage is over onto other people, and they're taken care of too. I know a lot of Black people think that immigration is counterproductive to Black people, but I just kind of feel like, how dare we sit here and say like the Latino population has no place here? This is their home, like real talk.
Well,
Like,
I mean, we have to look at when you say that in that aspect, and when we're talking about generally when we talk about immigration in the past, from a historical point of view, that's always been a way how the folks in the dominant society has offset our place, be it voting or even in the workforce. Prime example.
It's gonna sound like I'm splitting hairs, but the fact of the matter is, if Black people were being taken care of, whatever that means, right? That, I mean, I'm talking about in full scale. I don't care if people are like, since when?
Right, that's not a Black issue. So it's not. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I just feel like Black people, we get so much up on our high horse where now it's like nobody's allowed to immigrate here because of us. Like, we have a me mentality, and I get it. We were wrong. We were taken away. We had a stolen history. There's a lot of things that go with it. But the fact of the matter is, we can't sit here with all this audacity and righteous indignation. Like, how dare that Latino group of people? Because it's really anti-Latino. Real talk. The stuff that the immigration stuff is really anti, like, people from
anti-Hispanic. Period.
Yeah. Are there brown people?
Nobody's complaining about Canadians that illegally enter the country.
Or illegal Russians coming in through Canada.
But
yes. So
but here's the deal. I think how you're characterizing it is kind of off, trying to make it seem like Black folks. I think it's more so the attitude of Black folks is, in my opinion, the Black folks are more like, yo, we still got to deal with our issues before you move on to something else. Prime example, when they came out with, all of a sudden there was this need for, I don't know where they came up with this idea, with this anti-Asian hate crime bill. And there's never been an anti-Black Black crime bill. And then even the statistics show that there's been more anti-Black hate crime towards us than anti-Asian. So I don't even understand. So let's take care of us first. We need to focus on us. So I think that's where that attitude comes from. It's more so.
I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, and I get it, we want to be myopic in our point of view, but the fact of the matter is, other people's are gonna be focused on their point of view too. And I don't think we can sit here and with that level of righteous indignation and say, well, Black people aren't being taken care of. I'm like, we had a whole group of people that were ran out of this country. So maybe they weren't brought over on boats and that type of thing. But you have a whole group of, hold on a second. You have a whole group of people who were also displaced and removed from this country.
I don't know if that's necessarily true on that aspect of it. Because of the fact we're talking about the Mexican-American War. We talk about the Mexican-American War. Yeah, the Mexican army and the Mexican government was run out. But a lot of the folks but a lot of the Mexicans stayed within the country. It was just a different change of a regime for them, where there are some now in today's standard, what we're talking about, these are folks who make a conscious choice to come to this country.
And they have
two different things.
This is the land of their descendants.
No, if you're from Colombia, if you're from Guatemala, if you're from El Salvador, no, you're not Mexican.
Hairs about that, but
that's not. Wait a minute, that's not splitting hairs. These are two different nationalities.
The majority of the people crossing that border are Mexican. Now, come on, we're not going to get into dishonest.
No, I would say this: we need to do a poll on that, because a significant number, like prime example here in the DMV, most of your immigrants are El Salvadorian.
El Salvadorian, Guatemalan. And that's because of America's intervention down in Guatemala and El Salvador. We've created a problem that we're now
Well,
trying to say is a problem.
hold on. We don't speak French here, so the we part, maybe you're talking about the U.S. government
I'm talking
and
about the U.S.
folks in the
government. Yes,
dominant society. But as far as we may not have anything to do with that. And those folks who made a choice, again, those folks from Guatemala, El Salvador, they could have just stayed there and try to fight and win their country back over. That's on them. They made a conscious choice to come here.
Well, then, like I said, even if you remove them from the equation, the fact of the matter is, you still have all of Mexico. We'll just talk about Mexico alone. I mean, we can't be intellectually dishonest and say, like, cherry pick, the Guatemalans in the Bolivian.
I said we need to do the numbers and see where they actually are coming. We do know they're coming from south of the border, but what's the percentage that are Mexican versus Salvadoran,
Right.
Guatemalan, and whatnot? And see, that's something that needs to be more, because I don't know if it's now maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago, yeah, it was more Mexicans, but today I don't think it may not be as many Mexicans illegally coming into the country like that. I think it's other countries that we're talking about, and that may need to be looked into. So I don't want to paint all Hispanics as Mexican, because that's kind of insulting.
It is, but what I am saying is we have to stop being intellectually dishonest about it, and we start cherry picking like, these 3 people were from Costa Rica, and then these 2 from Panama.
I don't know if it's cherry picking to just be concerned about our issues. The hell with everybody. This is where I'm at. I'm D1. I'm black first, and anything else after that, they can take care of that. But take care of black folks first. We're a significant number who's been loyal and dedicated to the so-called Democratic Party. So yeah, we should be the most of the constituents that should be dealt with first, as opposed to, I don't remember Asians protesting for some Asian crime bill, but that's the first thing that got taken care of. And then the stuff with the Hispanics and homosexuals and all that, and still black folks ain't got nothing. What did black folks get so far from this administration?
Well, you're actually proving my point. What I was trying to say was, this is
my bad.
I was trying to say this is what was given to the Latino community. And then here's my favorite one. Okay, they got their marriage recognition or legal marriage, legalization of marriage, and so I'm like, now this is what they'll probably say. I'll say, sorry, they protected LGBTQ from discrimination by prohibiting federal contractors and subcontractors from discriminating against their workers on the basis of sexual orientation, gender ID. And then I just picked a few things, by the way. And here's the last one that they'll say, hey, he reduced the jail population. Now, I don't know what that percentage is, but, there was that disparity. Remember back with the crack epidemic, people going to jail over the crack. So I'm telling you, right?
Go ahead. That one burns me. That burns me, because the first thing they'll talk about the black folks, we did something about crime. Like every black person is a criminal.
I know.
What does that got to do with me?
I had to poke a little bit.
Like first thing they're gonna throw out something about we did something about the crime and this and about crime. What's that got to do with black folks? I don't like I try to make the synonymous that black folks are just naturally born criminals. Is that what they're trying to say?
No. So that I picked some talking points for number 2. There was these expectations of performance from him, but what happened was other groups got a level of specificity as far as things that affected their community. But when it came to black people,
because other people were up in DC and lobbying and fighting, and we had people gatekeeping, like Al Sharpton, who, if you said anything to critique Obama, you were automatically basically told to be quiet, and that kind of thing. Like I listened to Dr. Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM a lot, and he went 8 years basically of critiquing Obama and talking about how whenever you brought up policy, other black people that were, I'll call them the traditionalists, stemming from the civil rights era.
No, let's call them what they are. Let's call them what they are. They're the rhymes with goon class.
They would step in and chastise you and say, how can you say this about this black president? We need to give him a chance. So any kind of issue that related to policy, black people were gatekeeping other black people who wanted to go to DC and wanted to lobby and wanted to push an agenda, but it kept getting swept under the rug and we just kept wearing t-shirts. So that's part of the reason why we didn't get, can I say we as in black people right now? That's one of the reasons we did not get any type of bill with specificity. Like other black people, as you said, the Coon class kept people out of that.
I didn't say that. I know. I didn't say that. I said word rhymes with Coon.
But I can't even call them that. I think that's that goes back to the very first question when you talking about the generational thing. Look who you said the gatekeeper was, Al Sharpton. People who grew up in the civil rights era whose view is completely different, where you don't do anything to criticize or to critique or whatever a black person that rises to prominence. Whereas maybe if the gatekeeper was, let's say, a 30-year-old, might have been something a little bit different.
I just want to read this comment real quick from M. Alexander Brown. We were slaves. We have different history and issues. We need to look out for our issues first. And also he says, every other group rode our coattails and then jumped ahead in line.
That's true.
Can't disagree with that one.
That's true.
And we need to always be one. We need to always be that, black first. You have all these other black.
Well, how can you not be black?
Huh?
How can you not be black first? You wake up every day in the mirror, right?
No, you'd be surprised. You got a lot of these folks who try to use an escape hatch of other things. Well, I'm LGBT. And that
mofo, you black.
And they'll use that as an escape hatch or whatever to think that's going to protect them and try to say, well, I've been discriminated. No, they're not discriminating because you enjoy whatever you do in their bedroom. It's because you're black. And a lot of them think that it's a safe space to say something other than black. And that's why they'll use that as an escape hatch to move away from blackness.
Everyone tries to move away from blackness, though. But all right, so I think that's where it came from as far as like why there's such a divide. I think for some people, representation. What is going on back there?
Oh, that was me. I'm sorry. I'm walking out of a hotel room. My bad.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No.
You are a mess.
Shut up.
So I just think the biggest thing that was dividing us was you had maybe like I'm Gen X, and I know I did a brief little thing. I looked up some stuff, and you said your boomers and Gen X, depending on which part of the boomer scale you were on, we were all very skeptical and that type of thing. It was your millennials and your silent generation who were the prominent supporters of Barack Obama, President Barack Obama. But he did lose a lot of the white millennials, I think, in the second election. I think, like I said, this is what I think, and then I'll move on to the third question. There were groups of people who are like, wait a second, we want more specificity. Now, I didn't have any expectations that he was going to do anything for black people. I do think he was a good president, but I knew he was going to do anything for black people. He was going to do it for everybody. Like, I had no illusions because any of our black candidates that get elected, they're all shady. I remember I wrote into some local people about like, I know, well, I was like in my feelings. I'm like, I know you rented that, like you got that speeding ticket. You're asking people. I mean, I was always writing somebody. They never listened to me, but I wrote my local people. But the point I'm making is we wanted something that had a level of specificity because other groups were getting whatever needs that were, marriage and the Supreme Court and the Dreamer and DACA and all stuff like that. And then
they're getting tangible policies.
When it came to the blacks, we got hope and representation. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, he gave us representation, but why? I think where I was offended was why does representation have to be enough for us? Like everyone else can get something very specific, but it's like, but you got representation.
Well, I think it speaks to his leadership again. He was soft when it came with black folks anytime. Prime example, when he first got tested, his first test where white, in my opinion, folks in the dominant society saw that it was a pushover was when
That
Skippy
woman,
Gates,
huh?
huh?
What was it?
When that woman was in his face.
No, before that. When Skippy Gates got hemmed up by the cop at his home, right? And they had that so-called beer summit. Now, as opposed to a real politician, you would have
Oh,
been like,
is he talking about the Harvard professor?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
okay,
any
okay.
real politician would have been like, look here, Skip, just tell me who the guy's name is. All right, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And that cop would have never had a job for the rest of his life, not in the law enforcement. However, what he had allowed was this dude to get on the same level as Obama, some low level meter maid cop or whatever, coming all the way up to the White House talking about a beer summit. No, that showed he was weak and he had weak leadership. And some low level cop, Barney Fife cop like that, should have been fired, handled, and never blackballed out of the law enforcement
He said,
had he had real juice and real power.
not Barney Fife. It's actually Barney Fife. Not the Barney Fife. Well, what I wanted to do is hold on. Let me take my little ticker off because I'm always putting that ticker up. By the way, if you guys have not done so, can you go ahead and just like this and then subscribe? If you haven't subscribed, thank you. Leave some comments. Okay,
That's that like button.
hit that like button. All right, so let me go to the third question. Now, this I know. Look, do you think he identified with Black people? Do you think he had
No,
an American experience?
no,
Actually, if you know his life story, you know that he struggled with just trying to find and define himself as a Black man until he was out of college, working in Chicago.
no.
So if you actually know his life story, that's part of his own story that he told.
He still doesn't
Is,
know.
is that until he got to Chicago after he graduated from Columbia, it was like the first time he had actually even been in a really a Black environment in his life. So you talking about 21, 22 years old before he was even really surrounded by Black people.
I think he was older than that. I think he might have been older than that. But no, he
Speak
still does, and he still doesn't see himself as Black. And I would submit that. He's just having.
I'm not going to give him that charge. I
No,
disagree
I'm
with
gonna
that.
say this. He's basically a dude who happened to have a Black father who grew up mostly around white folks. And I'd be willing to bet even today he is uncomfortable in a predominantly Black setting. And real talk, after this whole situation, after these, I'm now starting to look at his wife a little differently now too. I wonder her dating patterns before she dated Obama when she was at Princeton. How was her dating? Or was she just happy to have a light skinned dude? Or was she because she couldn't get a white guy?
Well, let me just say this.
I can't even.
I don't necessarily want to call into question his Blackness or how he feels about his Blackness because I do believe people are allowed to evolve and grow.
But his actions show a lot, though.
Well, people have biases, internal biases, but I'm not so sure he's unaware of his Blackness, or I'm sure he's been reminded of it. Definitely during his presidency. I think we are presumptuous, and because if somebody doesn't act entirely like us, that they're not aware of their Blackness, right? And like I said,
No,
it's
I'm
kind
not.
people. They have biases. It doesn't mean that there
I,
aren't people out there. They have biases.
I'm not saying he doesn't know that he has a tint on him, that he has shade on him. He has a heavy dose of melanin in him. I'm saying that I don't think he's comfortable in Black settings. I don't think he's comfortable being in a setting where it was predominantly Black. I'm pretty sure he preferred to be in a setting where it's more white, where he's like one of the few Black people in the group. He's probably used to being a token, and he likes that environment. Probably.
I can't. That's speculation. I can't say that one
I
way or
know
the other.
Well,
I can't. So I'm looking at
in a lot of environments by virtue maybe of where I live or where I work. So
okay.
does that make me? I don't know. I mean, if that's the case,
I
then you
mean,
have to
to
call
be
me.
my honest opinion is he strikes me as a type of person who'll be comfortable in whatever environment he's in. Like I feel that way about myself. I don't care where you put me. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm cool. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. But I found a quote from somewhere some quote. I don't know if it was in one of his books, but he talked about, it's a quote that from him, we was talking about trying to when he was growing up. He said, "I was trying to raise myself to be a black man in America, and beyond the giving of my appearance, no one around me seemed to know exactly what that meant." Well, he yeah, like, how do you, I don't know what, how do you get that identity when you don't, you're not even around it until you're well into adulthood.
Right. So again, he's used to being the token in an environment. He's probably more comfortable in that. And if there's a setting where it's predominantly black folks, he's probably real scared and maybe thinking that he's gonna get robbed or something because of the environment that he's raised in, because he's uncomfortable. I'm pretty sure the church he went to with Reverend Wright, it probably took him a minute to become, and I'm pretty sure he probably would just sit there for a minute and be the first thing smoking out the doors.
But where does he start? So do you say? I mean, like, but at
He
least
may
he's.
not be able to start. We just have to. It is what it is. He is who he is.
I feel like if he's going out of his way to put
It
himself
was it
in.
for political, or was it just for political gain that he did all that stuff?
No, because he
I
started
don't
his
know.
career as a community person in South Side of Chicago. Now, you don't get no more black environment than that, and that's before
But
he entered
oh,
politics.
because he was a social worker. Is that what we're saying now?
But yeah, but he was living there. He didn't have to live there at the time when he started out. I'm like, you didn't
I will
have to
say
pick.
this: there, like, I mean, going back to the divide, there's just some people, Deja Bass, who just don't like him, and so it doesn't matter if he's doing work there, regardless of his reasons. If he's around, he can go to a black church, he can get a black wife, he can be a social worker in a black community, he can do
No, I
all.
just go by his actions.
And but there's, I don't think that there's any way he could win.
No, he could have won. He had his chance, and he blew it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I
He
don't
had
see it
his
one way or the
chance.
other.
He blew it. He was a second term president. He chose not to do certain things. He made that conscious choice. He showed when Donald Trump came in office. Donald Trump showed the difference between somebody who had balls and someone who didn't.
I wouldn't I wouldn't make that comparison. Donald Trump didn't give a damn, but Donald Trump
Right.
also, but Donald
So
Trump, to
that
be fair, he could do things just by virtue, and we know this. He could do
Wait,
things
he
just
was
by virtue of
president,
the
right?
color of
Wait,
his.
wait.
No, he
He
was
was
president,
president, right?
but he could get
He
away
did
with
have the.
things.
He could do
Had
executive orders, right?
had Obama done and behaved the way Donald Trump behaved,
he was
his
a
ass
thief.
would have been out of there so fast.
Thank
Now
Well, I'm
you.
not asking him to
we
behave.
could talk, we could
I'm
talk
not
all the
asking him to
yin
behave
yang we
like.
want, but that's the
I'm
fact.
not
That's the
asking him to
fact.
talk like. I'm not asking him to talk to behave like Donald Trump, but at least behave like a black man with some balls and a spine. And
It's
and
see,
here's my
and
thing.
that's
Like I just said, prime example was the Flint water crisis. He
mm-hmm.
showed he was not about that. He wasn't about helping even, and even with that, you can say, hey, it's not about black people. It's about America. It's about making sure that folks are not poisoned. And under my watch as president, I want to make sure that people are protected and safe. He could have easily took care of that, but he chose not to do that. He could have easily said to the governor, the mayor, like, look, y'all have 30 or 70, whatever, 60 days or 90 days to get this water stuff straight. If not, I'm nationalized. I'm getting in the Army Corps of Engineers, and we're gonna get this water straight. Make sure my people here in this great city of Michigan are not
Mm-hmm.
ingesting and taking baths in poison water.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done that. You're
But
absolutely
he
correct.
but he showed he doesn't have the tenacity or that strength to do that.
Well,
Well, no, but no,
that,
yeah. I mean, I
I wanted
can't.
to go back. I wanted to go back to the question was on, you know, did he understand or participate in an experience? Right. So we already addressed the first two questions about the generational stance. What was the second question? The various expectations of performance with a level of specificity. Right. We addressed those things, but now we're going to dig into the nuance of understanding, like, do you think it was because of do you think he just doesn't understand the African American experience and maybe why he didn't push so hard? Not necessarily if he
Uh,
wasn't. Well, I do have to yell at my children one more time. Let me
okay, but with that note, I mean, even with the water and Flint, that doesn't have to do with race.
No,
I
it
think he
doesn't. It
was.
does. Those are white and black people.
However, I do think it had a reason why he didn't want to go and go to the level that I think. Do you think he would have done that to another city that was predominantly white and these folks had poison water like that was publicized on the news, on the daily news, or on national television? Do you believe he would have just let that people just have poison water in his whole administration?
I mean, I can't say whether he would or he wouldn't. I
I
really
can.
can't. I really can't.
Uh,
That's all speculation. But I also can't say that it was even put on his desk as the leader of the executive branch. I can't say that. I don't know that it was. I mean, I'm sure he had to be aware because it was a national story. But yeah, I mean,
no, he even did a little um, dog and pony show when it came down to it, where he
now
act like he fake
here's
drinking the water and all that.
now
Come on.
my question is
Can I
this:
jump in for a
to be
second?
fair, did he delegate that to whatever, which is what leaders do? You delegate to the people who are actually responsible for that. In this case, the EPA.
I want to speak to
But
that.
that's under his watch. And that's under his watch, though. That's under one of his cabinets. So
Hold
that's
on a
still
second.
under his watch.
Hold on a second. Let me jump in on here. I wanted to read this chat from Gerald Cook. It says, "That's ridiculous. Obama wasn't Black King. He was president of the country for
What the
everyone."
hell is it? Jerry Cook? Get
Hold
on
on.
here. What are you talking about? Sit down.
He said he could have easily done this and that. Sounds ridiculous. That is a state issue, and
Oh, really?
you don't understand the local government.
Yeah, I do understand that. And that's why I said he should have talked to them again. Like I said, he should have talked with the local, I said the state, the mayor and the governor, and said they had so many days to get that straight. If they couldn't get that, that's under his guidance as a president to ensure the safety of American citizens. And not having drinking water is a safety issue.
Okay, well, wait a second. Well, wait a second. So I'm gonna jump in here for a second. If that's the case, then what about the vaccine?
I'm not sure what. Okay, what about it?
You mean that he could have jumped in, he could have done this, he could have done that. Well, we can't force people to get the vaccine. We can force people not to work.
Um,
A second, it's similar, right? He
I
could
don't.
have.
I don't.
Hold on, killer. Hold on. Okay, you're talking about the water situation. Well, now we can say the same thing about the vaccine. He could delegate. They could delegate that down to the state, right? Right. What about?
But don't we have a president now who's trying to mandate that for at least federal employees, and then also incentivizing states?
No. We're not going to sit here and be intellectually dishonest. Because there's a difference between the federal workers and the United States. There's a difference, right? For the health and well-being of the country. Why can't we just make everybody? He can delegate that to his cabinet. Now we got to be consistent then in our.
I mean, look, put this way, he could do that. The president could, if he saw it was fit, and he talked to all 50 governors and said, "Look, you guys have so many years and get so many on this kind of whatever percentage to get people vaccinated. If not, then I'm gonna extend it to a certain level and almost do a state of emergency." President has certain powers that they can issue certain things for a temporary point in time. So yeah, if it gets to that point, they could nationalize certain things. Yeah, it would be messy. It would be messy. It could be a mess and may cause other ramifications and problems. But yeah, it's possible. I'm not, but again, like I just said, the president could have nationalized and had the Army Corps of Engineers go over and took over the water plant and take care of it. And like I said, gave the mayor and the governor so many days by saying that and give some kind of announcement, and then took over because it was a state of an emergency because of water. It was a water issue.
Okay, but I'm just talking to both sides here. Now, like I said, I have mixed feelings about Obama, but we got to be fair is fair. If you're saying that, then it's like you got to go all the way down. Whether it's the Flint water issue, whether it's the vaccination issue, whether it's the women's rights and I don't like to use the A word because I don't, YouTube is mad. If you decide that a fetus should not be here, right?
Who? So
Okay.
what now?
Whether you're talking about fetuses, whether they should be here, because YouTube doesn't like certain words, right? So what I
Okay.
was saying is, so where do you draw the line in on the fetuses, on
That's on
the
that president. It's on that
medicine?
president what they that president. That's
No,
on that president what they feel strong about.
okay, whether it's on that, whether it's on the medicine that goes in your arm, because even the V word can be problematic, whether it's on the water crisis.
Okay.
So, I
Okay.
mean, I mean, not to say that he should not have done something about that. Like, I agree, but what we can't do is sit there and say, like, oh, because he didn't do this, he doesn't understand Black people. And I'm not so sure he understood the Black American experience. But what I will say is, we have to be consistent, though.
Oh, I'm
Look,
consistent
we
about
had
it. Trust me.
we had 45 that was just in office, and he didn't do anything about the medicine in your arm at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
No, but I
okay.
mean, we bring the same smoke for everybody. So now you can't. I mean, so if we're being intellectually honest,
Again, my thing about Obama, we're just talking about from a Black perspective and certain things. So we're talking about what he didn't do. He did things for other constituents and didn't do anything for Black, right? And like I said, one of the simple things he could have just done an executive order by issuing an apology for slavery on behalf of the United States. That's
hold
just
on,
simple,
please
right?
up here again. I want to read some of
Oh,
these.
another thing, just even it's off branch, he could have done an uh, uh, he could have done a because I think Trump did this. Gave the apology or for Marcus Garvey and Jack Johnson, but I guess he was afraid of looking like he was doing something for Black folks.
Let me just read these real quick. Gerald chimed in again. That's not how the executive branch works. The governor has control, not the president. You keep saying delegate to the state. That's not how it works. You are talking about an executive order. Come on, man. Do you know how much of an issue that would be? And then some
Yeah, it would be an issue, but so is having poison water. All right, either come on or shut up. That's what.
So, but anyway, I just think getting back to the question was, did he understand or participate in an African American experience? The reason why I asked that question, I know it's inflammatory. It's one of the things I wanted to say was government 101. It's inflammatory because I feel like oftentimes people are holding that against Obama. Now, look, he had some problematic stuff about him. Like I already called my things out about him. At the end of the day, the way I look at it was, I don't think I had any expectations he was going to do a whole lot for Black people because most Black politicians don't do anything for Black people. They do something for everyone versus other people when they get in office, they do something for their people. But I just never thought that was going to happen. Do I think he was a good overall president? Yes. Did he lend a level of specificity to Black people? Absolutely not. So any policies that he put in place, a lot of them were for everybody. Making sure
Except Black folks.
well, think about it. Like even like the crack thing, the crack cocaine thing, right? That was more of a thing for everybody that happened to
Kind of like
Black.
affirmative action. Everybody benefits from affirmative action except Black folks.
But I just think that oftentimes they're like, well, why didn't you just use your executive order? I'm like, well, why not use the executive order for the stuff that goes into your arm or for the fetuses? You know, it's like we can go on and on and on. Like, when do you pull that trigger? Because once you start pulling that trigger, you can pull it for everything.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. See,
And it would make life interesting if some presidents did that. Yeah.
The other thing to remember about an executive order is that the very next president can come in and write an executive order to cancel your executive order, so it's almost pointless. I mean, it becomes symbolic. It becomes symbolic.
But here's the deal. But he didn't do one specific thing for the Black constituents. And the excuse he always gave was, here's the other thing. You hear some Black folks say, well, he had the Congress that was against him and this, that, and the other. You know what? What would have been great is he did try to push something. If he used his bully pulpit to push certain agendas. And then he could say to Black folks,
how do you know he did? How do you know he
okay,
really?
what did he push for Black folks? Give me an example.
You can't answer my question with a question. I said, how do you know he didn't?
Because I didn't hear him push anything as an agenda that was specifically for Black folks in all of his 8 years when he was in office. And number two, remember that statement, that foolish statement. He said, I'm the president of all of America, not just Black America. So
Well,
But
it
that's not a
actually was, I'm not the president of Black America. I'm the president of the United States of America.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. But no,
Oh,
either
yeah.
way, you know what I'm saying. But the
Yeah.
bottom line is, the dude just we got to be honest. He did nothing specific for Black folks,
I
except
think
like some folks, he just made them feel good.
I guess I always come back to, I mean, really, what was he supposed to, and what did he promise? He didn't promise anything specific for Black. The things that he
No, that's true.
promised, he attempted to deliver on.
That's true.
Actually, the things he promised, for the most part, he did deliver on. I mean, I can't.
That's true.
So I can't say that he ran on a platform of, I'm going to do this for Black people, I'm going to do that for Black people, I'm going to do this. He ran on a platform of, my big thing is going to be healthcare. Okay, so he got the ball rolling on that.
he did.
We know where the economy was when he walked into office, and he managed that well. And
Okay.
and there was a
Does
few
Jerry
other things.
Cook do? Look, Jerry. Bottom line is,
Come
here's
on
the
into the
bottom line.
discussion.
Now, here's the bottom line. We're talking about there was a national threat or a threat for folks having poison water. If the government, the local government, could not or was unwilling to handle that situation, then it's up to the federal government to ensure the safety of its citizens. And that's the president's job.
Well, I'm going to move on to the next question. My favorite one. So before you chime in, because I know you're ready to get down.
I know Disha Bass ready to go hard on this one.
I'm going to have to mute you for a second because he might set it off. So now I'm going to say this. Oh, wait, that's the wrong thing.
I may have to go to the hotel next, too.
This is where I will say this was my issue with President Barack Obama. He was holding Blacks accountable. Nothing wrong with that. But he wasn't holding America accountable. Now, hold on.
What?
No, hold on. Before you even jump in there, that's why I said I'm going to have to mute you for a second because I know you're ready for this one. So he spoke about the nation's original sin and the dark history, but repeatedly failed to connect the sins of the past to the crimes of the present when racism thrives, police brutality, etc. Now, I got that as a quote. Now, what I was going to do was share. Give me a second because, I'm still like a movie about this. So first of all, now I'm going to share I'm going to share two items here. Bear with me. This is the actual, let me take this off. Come on. So he spoke about reparations and he talked about why he wasn't for reparations. I'll just leave it up there, but basically I'll speak to it. He said, basically, I'm going to go to the last paragraph. These are the challenges that will not go away with reparations. Okay. So while I applaud and agree with the underlying sentiment of recognizing the continued legacy of slavery, I would prefer to focus on the issues that will directly address these problems and building a consensus to do just that. So basically, then there's some other stuff in here. He gave Black people the big FU. Now, that's stung. Now, before you jump in, let me get this last thing up because I know you're chomping at the bit. One last thing here. So now, this is in February of this year. He backs reparations. And what he said was, well, you can read yourself. He backed the reparations of Black Americans for the first time. He calling it was justified. Now, he said this in other documentation. He said it was justified. He said the politics of white resistance and resentment was the reason why, he wasn't
no balls.
Not the balls. So basically, and there's some other stuff in between. And if you see by the labeling of this, I grabbed this from the Independent. The other one came from, I think, Politico, something or other. I can get you the what was that?
Okay. When Obama said that statement where that he's for it now and all this other thing, at that moment, my thoughts about Obama, the best thing he could do, I'm gonna say this again, and this may sound harsh, because he's adding nothing and doing nothing to help Black folks at this point. His presidency was a waste as far as Black folks are concerned. So the best thing he can do right now, because all he's doing is talking out the side of his neck, in my opinion, best thing Obama could do for Black folks is transition. And so with that,
Not transition. See, I know how much you love that. Look at that man.
So yeah, and him transition, we can put our own spin and narrative of who he is. Anyway, um, back to him now waffling. Or 1 minute he's talking about this other stuff. See, that just shows he had no real beliefs in anything, and he doesn't understand black folks, and he does whatever can politically convenient at the time. So,
But go back to that first screen you put up, Asia, please.
The actual
the one from the first one you put up.
Are you talking about the one? Okay, the one where he
the one with the longer one. Yeah.
I'm not for it. Now, 1 second.
So yeah, this one. So
thing where
to put the whole thing in context, like we skipped to the bottom, but you got to read the middle.
Right.
you have to read the middle.
Hold on a second. You're right, and the reason why I say that was because hold on, let me get back to my situation. But this is the thing: he held blacks accountable. My issue was, well, why can't you hold white people accountable too? This is what started to burn me because there's other verbiage out there. He was like,
and that reminds me of something. Wait,
but if you
that reminds me of something else too.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you notice Obama was good at this. He would say these kind of things to show to folks in a dominant society that he could put black folks in check. He'd give all these kind of speeches like that towards pointing his waving his finger in front of on black folks. Prime example is when he gave that speech about being a responsible father and all this other stuff at the commencement at Morehouse College.
Yes, yeah.
Now, the speech is a good speech, but it's not the right time and place for that speech. The reason why he gave that speech was to show white America, this is how I can talk to these black folks and I got them under control, as opposed to giving some kind of uplifting speech, something about going into the world and creating and building or producing or something like that. He spoke about being a responsible father and all this other stuff at Morehouse College. These guys graduate. Wrong place, wrong time, man. Sit down and shut up.
I'm not familiar with the speech, so I can't speak on that one.
I didn't hear the speech, but I read about it. He basically said, we need to take care of our kids. We need, get an education. Stuff that maybe a Bill Cosby would say.
But it was not the right place for that speech. It was inappropriate for that speech at that time.
So when you read this whole thing, now granted, I think I heard something else too, but I think my only issue was it was almost as if he was scared to just say, I'm for reparations. It was all this other stuff that was surrounding it. And I'm like, well, why can't you just boldly stand in something?
Well, I told you why.
But the very first sentence, the very first sentence of the second quote says, I fear that reparations will be an excuse for some to say we paid our debt and avoid the much harder work of enforcing our anti-discrimination laws. And it goes on from there. But that first statement, I fear it will be an excuse for some to say we paid our debt. What else you got to say?
But again, what do you mean? But look, you know what? You know what? I'm willing to take that chance. Let's try it.
No, but what I'm saying is,
try it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the reparations themselves. I'm just saying you're saying he's not speaking to hold white people accountable. But that statement actually is doing that. Is saying that, hey, if we do this, or I think if we do this, and these people are going to say, hey, we paid our debt. They're saying
that now anyway.
No, I get
folks in the dominant society saying that now anyway when they use the excuse of the Civil War and so many folks died and all this other kind of crap. So I mean, come on. I'm done. Let's go on.
I will say this: when he made this comment, Mitch McConnell came out and was like, "Yes, I'm in agreement with Obama. I am not for reparations and all kinds of stuff." And I was just kind of like, if anything,
that's not what he said.
I get it. People are going to perceive it the way they want. And so what happened was people were like, "Yeah, that's right. I'm with Obama."
But see what it shows is where Obama is. He basically will lick his finger, stick it in the air, and wonder which way the wind is blowing. He said at the time when reparations didn't seem to have a certain kind of flavor and flair. Now that there was a movement behind reparations and there was brought it up to the presidential debates and stuff. Now all of a sudden he's for it because the wind is blowing that way. That just shows this man is just full of it. And again, like I said, it just shows the dude just lack the testicular fortitude for certain things.
But again, you got to go back. You got to come back down and look at the last sentence. Now well, the Gerald Cooks thing popped up in my way, but it says, so while I applaud and agree with the underlying sentiment of recognizing the continued legacy of slavery. So he said, hey, I don't disagree with it, but I don't think that it's the right thing to do. That's not, that's not saying that I don't think we should. That's not saying that we shouldn't do it. It's just saying, hey, I don't disagree with I don't disagree with what it's for, but I don't think that's the way to go. And hey, if that's what he thought, that's what he thought. Some people agree with it. I've heard comedians tell jokes and say, man, what race is going to do? A whole bunch of people can go out and buy Cadillacs. Which, I mean, it's a running joke. Some jokes are rooted in truth. But so
yeah, you always have a fool with some money, but I mean, again, we're talking
a
about
lot
a
of
debt
fools
that's
with money.
old, but we're talking about a debt that's been old. People whose legacy and stuff have been, that would have changed lives. So of course you're gonna have some fools who don't know what to do with money, but then you have those who do.
Well,
and again, we got to look at the history, because remember, reparations also based on what's happened over the last few years. Wasn't only based on just the slavery. We're also looking at some of the aspects from the redlining issues. Also looking at the historical point of the Highway Act. If you notice, all these highways always were built. These major highways are always built in the epicenters of Black businesses. In any major city where there's a major freeway or highway, I guarantee you that was at one time the epicenter of the Black community. Economic.
They used, and I was looking that up, like it was like a year or two ago. They were talking about, I think Syracuse is a big one that happened. It totally decimated.
No, every major city.
I'm not saying they're using that as an example, like of how it was such a thriving community. They called that one out specifically, and there's all these other things that's associated with it. But how when it just really decimated everything. I mean, you're talking about homes and communities and just businesses, and it was just so much. That Highway Act was like just as important. It's almost like in tandem with the redlining.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we're speaking at a very high level, but when you actually read up on it and the effects of it, it's really devastating. So I don't know. I think the biggest thing with the whole reparations is oftentimes people are equating reparations to just money. Reparations is literally because there's damage that has been caused and you need to make whole. So that includes healthcare reparations, like access to healthcare, access to education at a reduced or free rate, access to financial capital, right? It's not just money, but it's like cheap business loans and grants.
Resources.
It's land. It's like, I think about when they look at our communities, they always say our communities are unbanked and underbanked. Okay? And so we've got people who can't even get any sort of economic know-how, like any sort of leverage or anything, because there are no banking institutions there. Like, look at how like we're so unhealthy because we have all these food deserts. We don't have we don't have grocery stores. We don't have any of those things. It's really damaging. So I mean, reparations is really more than just money. It's
and that goes also what you're saying about the food banks. That's also, let's not forget about all those Black farmers who got a lot of land stolen, taken from them, or whatever, hoodwinked. And that's another way of our food sources. Like, a lot of at one time Black folks were farming and had significant inroads in farming and know-how. So
yeah, I mean, like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I think the biggest thing is, I think we have to be like, we have to think much bigger when we're talking about reparations. What does reparations really mean? And the first thing people think are that what is today's equivalent to the acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule thing.
And I'm like, well, reparations really starts. It's just like it's really basic, like just healthcare and adequate housing where you like clean living conditions, um, education, access to loans, having banks, having grocery stores. It's all of that. And then there's the liquid cash, but reparations is so much more than that. And it can't be a one-time thing. It has to be sustained through a period of time. It has to be a level of protection associated with it. There's some tax implications that are associated with it. You want land that can perk, and not just land, but land that can perk. You know, you want to have a level of insurance so that you have a certain level of protections over a period of time so that you can establish a firm foundation. You know, like where's the infrastructure to support it? I think we're not thinking, what does that look like? Who qualifies for reparations? You know, I mean, it should be based on a lineage, but how far back? I mean,
Right.
do the Obama's children
No.
qualify? Well, they should. Their mother is African American.
No, I'm joking.
Or such a hater. I think, you know, it's just bigger than that. But anyway, I would say if I were gonna like summarize this, because I know I've held you guys hostage, I think when it comes to Obama, I still stand by what I said earlier. I voted for Obama twice. I think he was an overall good president. I had no illusions that he was going to do anything for us black blacks, because most politicians don't. Like other politicians are very specific for their groups, right? But our black politicians are not. So I'm a little bit jaded. Um, I I think he did not lend any level of specificity for black people, but the other things he did help black people. They had no specificity. I think when you look at things like
Consumer Protection, Financial Protection Bureau.
well, I was going to say
That started under his administration.
well, I was going to say the Affordable Care Act. That's not affordable, but at least people were able to acquire health care. It wasn't affordable. It was a shady situation, but just giving people access to healthcare. Like, so I didn't really care for it, but you can't say he didn't accomplish something. I don't think it was a level of specificity for black people. However, black people had some benefit. I just feel like, you know what, at the end of the day, he's a politician. He's shady like the rest of them. And I think everybody put all their eggs in a basket like he was going to be like manna from the heavens, like the second coming of Jesus. And I'm like, look, they were a beautiful family when they first got elected. Um, he was doing his little walk in his strut. He's super cool, all that good stuff. You know, women were like getting all warm, you know, over him, you know, whatever. You know, I just call a thing a thing. I'm not really interested in demonizing him. I'm not really interested in like exalting him like he's like a god.
No, okay.
I'm just not. So, Affordable Care Act helped a lot of low income blacks. Actually, it did.
Which none of us fall in that category, so we wouldn't know that.
Right. It did help a lot of low income blacks. I know some. There was not going to be a law or executive order that said black cuz.
I know D. Chavez is chomping at the bit for this, whoever Gerald Cook is, to jump on.
No, I think I know Gerald Cook. He's probably he's just a troll on his
I
banjo.
know who this guy is. He's a
Oh,
good
okay. Oh, is he? Okay.
He is
So
a
now-
nice guy.
So here's an interesting
You
thing.
get on his banjo. Go ahead, stay on that banjo, black cuz.
Y'all are funny. So
But,
I looked up something since, you know, Asia, you say you felt he was actually, as just a president in general, a good president. So I pulled up C-SPAN's presidential ranking from 2021, which didn't include Donald Trump because he was still in office. And they ranked the presidents, every single one of them, based on their performance within the context of their time, pursued equal justice for all, vision, agenda setting in relation with Congress, administrative skills, international relations, moral authority, economic management, crisis leadership, and public persuasion. So they ranked every president based on those things in the context of when they were president. And Obama ranked 12th out of 44. So just
Who was
No.
number one on there? I wonder.
Number one was
Was
Abe
it
Lincoln.
FDR?
No, Abe Lincoln. FDR was third.
Okay.
So it went Abe Lincoln, George Washington, FDR, Theodore Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, Harry Truman, Thomas Jefferson, JFK, Reagan, then Obama.
JFK and over. Okay.
Look, I
Was he in
wasn't
office
alive.
long enough? I was gonna say
I don't
JFK
know.
in office long enough to even qualify.
I don't know.
They might as well put what was it Tyler, the guy who died after inauguration, was it Tyler? Put him up there too.
I forget who that was, but I know who you're talking about.
The Pope or Tyler, one of the guys.
Yeah, so that was from C-SPAN, which is probably the most boring news outlet that you ever want to see. So
I mean, like C-SPAN is still out there, and they still have a following. I mean,
I guess so. I mean,
can you follow them once?
They're probably one of the few places where you can get unbiased news because they just let stuff run.
Let the camera play, yeah.
They just let it run. So
yeah, set the camera up and y'all can do what you do.
And get out the way, yeah. So
yeah, C-SPAN was like C-SPAN was one step above what's that local cable access
television.
Cable access.
But so I'll give their ranking some credibility because they don't do slants. They just give you the facts and here's what they think.
Put the camera and let the camera play. Go ahead. Hit play.
Look, y'all got me feeling like warm over here now. This wine is starting to talk to me. I can see it on my face. I'm like, oh, look, I've been drinking.
That's funny.
Well, look, I don't know. I just wanted to know what everybody thought about Obama. I think part of the divide is you had the Gen Xers and some of the boomers were like, yo, I want something specific for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the boomers were just happy for having symbolism. The boomers are good known for symbolism.
Yeah, like they really were happy with hope and representation. So when I got
symbolism.
But I can't, and I would say I can't fault them for that. I didn't grow up in the 40s and 50s and 60s, so I don't know what that was like. So,
let's put it this way. In my opinion, the Black baby boomers, particularly the Black baby boomers, is a generation that I believe dropped the ball. They are the ones that
I think we're the generation that dropped the ball. Personally,
huh?
I think we're the generation that dropped the ball.
No, we let the ball just keep rolling. We didn't
pick it back up.
Yeah, but the baby boomers are the ones. The Black baby boomers are the ones who dropped the ball. They tried to do the same things as their white counterparts, and hence get all into drugs and all the other stuff. Like I think, as you said, that one guy, Bo, what was he talking about? His generation, what they did, what they contribute, my pushback was what he said. They fought, and he said fought for what? Because it wasn't. I know it wasn't fighting against drugs.
Yeah, so
we know it wasn't a fight against drugs. We know that.
Yeah, well, he was on some other stuff anyway because that guy.
He's like Uncle Remus.
Honestly, he got upset because I was like, "You're like a real live runaway slave." 21. I had never met anybody.
He was Uncle Remus. We got a lot of Uncle Remuses.
And I kept standing. I'm like, I should have touched the hem of his garment. Like, hey, I read a real life slave. Like, he was so. I was like, I couldn't. And you know me, like. I'll only go just a little hard, like because at the end of I'm kind of a softie. Like I don't want to like hurt people. But he was so irritating to me, and I was like, dude, like, oh my gosh! I'm like, if you keep triggering me, I'm gonna embarrass you. And he kept hitting me up like in the chat windows, and it was just a lot. And I was just kind of like, I'm gonna make you own yourself. Like I'm like, because I'm also a slick mouth person too. I try not to. I don't go as hard as you, but I'm like, if I really want to, I can back you in the corner, right? And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And I think the biggest one was when I was talking about is Biden really a racist actually, because he was so blinded. I'm like, you do know he has a history. Now, that doesn't mean that people can't take steps to change, but what I will say is I'm like, he was a supporter of the 1994
Crime bill.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was drinking.
Well, he wasn't only a supporter. He tried to back it. Really, it's under his whole thing. He's the one who put it together.
Oh no, he went hard for it. He was a segregationist, and
Now
honestly,
let me ask you, because I've heard a few. Well, I heard Bill Clinton specifically, and I forget who was Attorney General at that time, but they both come out and say, "Yeah, we messed up with that one."
they did.
Yeah.
They admitted we screwed up.
Kind of like Obama now with reparations, right?
No, I mean, well, I'm just going by what they say when they they like
Right,
in hindsight
exactly.
we didn't see the unintended consequences.
Yeah, sure.
So,
when people were saying no, that's bull. Yes, when there were people fighting back.
I take a man at his word.
I remember that, and I remember one of the biggest opponents who was trying to fight against it, and we have to give credit where Jesse Jackson was one of the people who was pushing against it.
Mm-hmm.
He pushed against it.
Wasn't he like going hard at Obama behind the scenes? Like he was calling him all kinds of names. Like Jesse
Well, to be fair, to my understanding, we look back on it, I think he was right. He was like because they had a hot mic on him, and his issue was he didn't like how he talked down to black folks. That was his issue with Obama. He didn't like how Obama talked down to black folks, which he was right. We got to be fair.
I call a thing a thing. I mean, I think the biggest thing too was, I think, now granted, I shouldn't say this, but I feel like Obama took advantage of the emotionally fragile state of the community. And like almost like commanding people, like, if you don't vote for me, like, like it's your fault, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
like Biden.
He did
like Biden. If you ain't black, you ain't black if you ain't voting for me.
You're not black. And
that was funny.
Like, dude, you don't have.
Dude, did you really say that?
Yes, he did.
No, I know Biden said it. I was just when it happened. I was like, dude, did you really say it?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, he thinks he has social currency. By the way, I did a video on social currency. And because I've been drinking, I can't remember if I uploaded it or not right now. I did one on social currency, and I don't know if I uploaded it. Did I upload it? I don't know. But anyway, if I didn't, that's coming soon. I mean, it's like about a week too late, but I'm still going to upload it. People who think they have social currency. I digress. But yeah, he was like doing too much when he was like, yeah, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I'm like, hold on a second, Bob. Like, look, you do not have social currency. And when people start like thinking that they have a social currency, that's what like drives me crazy. Appreciate
you
the
like
culture.
Kamala Harris?
Stop it. More like Cardi B, Evelyn Lozada.
Oh yeah. That's right. That's who Biden got interviewed by, right?
Cardi B? I missed that one.
Well, I think so, didn't she?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much they think. That's how much the Democrats think about black folks. You can get some rapper like her to interview you, and then she's supposed to be speaking from a black perspective. The WAP lady.
No, I don't
she interviewed.
Nothing wrong with WAP.
WAP. What is it?
WAP.
The WAP. It's WAP then, right? WAP. WAP.
My husband's coming upstairs. I need to put my camera on. I don't want him on camera. Hold on.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. Cardi B and Joe Biden's candid conversation. Wow. I missed that. That was last summer.
Yeah. So all right.
But he had met with Ice Cube, right? Has he met with Ice Cube yet? Remember, he's gonna meet with him after the election.
I don't know. I don't know if he ever did.
He hasn't.
I know people were mad at Ice Cube. Ice Cube's like, look, I presented my plan to both sides. I met with the side that met.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to do. And intelligent folks who want your agenda pushed. You have an agenda, and whoever can.
Stupid, but I'm not. Another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
And Ice Cube sounded like a full-on clown. Like the sentiment was good, but especially sorry, eating Twix. Ice Cube sounded silly. People don't have to agree. The sentiment was good. He was trying to present an agenda. What I don't like is when you say there is no agenda. There was an agenda. It wasn't a good agenda, but there was an agenda.
Ice
You
Cube?
mean Biden's Biden? You mean the lift every voice thing?
You can't say it wasn't an agenda. I never said it was a good agenda. But I called it out to you over the
Okay.
summer. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I called it out to you over the summer, and I was like, wait a second. What he can't do is go out there and be like, there's no agenda. I'm presenting agenda. I'm like, there was an agenda. It was kind of
Okay.
a soft
Let,
agenda.
let me let me ask this now that he's have how many days he's been in office now?
I'm not co-signing his bad behavior.
I know. I just want to highlight since you said he had one. What has he done off that
Hold on a second.
lift every
We
voice
already
thing?
know he hasn't done anything, and I don't think anything's going to be done.
Okay.
I had to elect people and say, you tell me you're going to do this, you have an opportunity to show me. But at the time when he was speaking, he was yapping. I'm like, no, wait a second. If you want me to take you seriously, you have to at least do your homework, right? Don't say, oh, you need to have an agenda. I'm like, there was an agenda. It was a very soft agenda, but there was an agenda. And I pointed you to it where it was, but I was just kind of like,
But it was no different from. It wasn't really, to be fair to what you're saying. He gave it a name. He slapped the title on it. But you could have took that same title, and that's the same thing he had for the Hispanics too.
It was called A Contract with Black America from Ice Cube.
Yeah, that's Ice Cube. Ice Cube. But we're talking about Biden's was lift every voice.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I didn't.
I do. But my whole big thing was I just don't like. I'd rather you critique what is out there and say, "Hey, this is what you have presented. And let me critique this." He was just yammering on like, I was like, "Okay, so you have already lost me. You sound like a walking ding dong."
You talking about Biden?
We're talking about Ice Cube.
Oh,
you sounded stupid as hell. I was like, okay, all that, now you can tell I'm really fired up. I'm like, no. I'd rather you say, hey, this is not good enough. But he then when they were like, there's something out there, he was like, mouth was all agape, like I'm like, come on now, you look stupid. He got silent, his nostrils was all big and carrying on. I'm like, dude, like.
No, I think I watched one interview where he talked about, people were mad at him, and he's like, and what I'd say, it was a long interview, but at the end of the day, what it boiled down to was, he said, look, I took my my contract with Black America, I presented it to both parties, and the Democratic Party told me wait till after the election. The Republican Party said we'll meet with you now, and he's like, people were mad at me for meeting with them, but I took the meeting that they wanted to see it right now. So, all right, fair enough. And all the other stuff he said in between, I was just looking for the point.
And I can't even remember now. I think I was focused on women or something. Whatever it was that had me fired up. He just sounded so dumb. And I'm so tired of people going to the rap raps, my brother. I'm like, oh, I'm like, we've got all these, minds out here who can put together something. You're always academicians and everything else. And I'm not talking politicians. I'm talking about real intellectual minds.
Talking about intellectuals. Here's the
like Dr. Claude like Dr. Claude Anderson.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people like that, but here's a challenge, and I think this is just a cultural thing in America. It ain't got it's not unique to the Black community. Yeah, a lot of intellectuals, they could present whatever, but nobody knows who the hell they are. They don't have the attention of the cameras, right? So we tend to look to celebrities, or we tend to look to
we shouldn't be looking at celebrities for certain. Now, to be fair, Ice Cube, I think he did consult other folks with some of his ideas. It's not like he just.
No, I mean, he's not a bottom line. He's not a politician.
He's not a politician.
He's a musician, and he writes movies. And writes and produces movies. I mean,
look, I'm not. No, he could have teamed up with some sort of academician. I can't even get the words out because I'm so fired up right now. He could have teamed up. I am fired. You see, my face is red and everything. Can you see?
Get you some water. Get you some water. Water.
Fired up. He doesn't take much from me. I'm fired up. They're gonna have 2 glasses of these. So no, he could have gone and spoken to somebody. What he did was he consulted, the black man's angry guide. Okay, all the ADOSers, which I'm kind of with the ADOSers for the most part, but some of it's kind of problematic. But my whole big thing is, it's like he went to the blackity black angry guy, and he said some nonsense, and I don't think he was addressing the women's stuff, because a lot of them out there are in these streets are like, yeah, the only thing that's important to you is your race. I'm like, you don't get to tell me what's important to me, because my gender affects me too. And I'm like, you're being so myopic in your point of view. You can't see past it. And you think the only thing that's going to fix the black rights is to talk just race. I'm like, you can talk race and you can talk gender and that type of thing. But anyway, I digress. I was going to say Black Cube. Ice Cube, his sentiment was, well, I'm not going to knock him for that, but he sounded like a ding dong. He was a ding old lame. He didn't do the full research. I'm like, how do you expect me to take you serious? How do you expect me to take you serious? They could have put somebody else up there that could have spoke without sounding like a ding dong and had your nostrils flaring and carrying on like he was dropping knowledge. I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I was just like, he was just doing too much. This is a water situation for the next hour. All right, so look, let me go ahead and wrap this up. I don't want to hold you guys hostage any longer. It is Friday night. Thank you guys for coming on. Do you guys have anything you want to say?
No, I think we said it all.
Okay, so look, if you're still on, one person who's hanging on, I think I know exactly who it is that's hanging on. Look, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, send it to your family, your friends, your aunties, even people you don't like. What else is it? Well, if you were hanging on, you pretty much watched most of this. And I don't know, what are my 5 S's? See it, share it, show your support by liking it, subscribe to it, watch it all the way through, share it with people, and leave a comment.
There you go.
Yeah, I bet messed the whole thing up. Look, I'm gonna have to post it another time because I'm fired up. Thank you guys for coming on. We'll do another one. I think we may need to do another one on the HBCUs. Apparently, comments today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, D. Shabazz, you got to go back and look at the comments on that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure you may able to chime in.
Okay, so that was was that a live already done, or was just something
that was the live that we did? But somebody a guy started posting. I guess he watched it after the fact. He started posting.
It was a troll.
So he wasn't really a troll. He just had a different point of view.
He attended Jackson State University, so
his point of view was that HBCUs are good for nothing and teaching you how to party and be employees. So
and he went to Jackson State, so I guess he's an expert on that one, huh?
I don't think Jackson State went well. I doubt it. Doesn't sound like he stayed there, but we went back and forth for a little while this morning.
No, he might be an alumni, and it just shows that he's an employee. He needs a job. That's what he's trying to say. Anyway,
I guess, but you got to check the comments out on that one.
I think
you get a kick out of it.
Not all HBCs are equal. Let's just say that. Just like not all universities are equal. So that may just say something about Jackson State, huh?
I did get some comments offline, and people are like, "What?" From a Morgan and Howard alum. I got one from because one guy went to both. Another guy went to Howard. I was hoping he would join tonight, but he was caught up doing some other stuff for photography. And I'm having a brain dump because this red is talking to me right now, and it feels like
Morgan.
So I closed it out with the guy by saying, "Look, I looked up a list of your prominent alumni. You guys got everybody from athletes to politicians to executives to beauty queens. How come they succeeded and you didn't?" And I just left it at that.
Exactly. And he says the quality of It's not like he's angry because he don't have a job. We may need to employ that brother.
Well, I don't know. See, we're all technical people, so
we'll troll for food. That's what they'll say. Next one will be we'll troll for food.
I don't know. I'm like he look. All of us are engineers and scientists. We're all technical. So
hey, what he gets? Yeah, you can't get a job if your major was basket weaving.
Hey, look, guys, if you're watching this towards the end, if you need a little job, hit me up in the comments. Make sure you like the post. If you live in the Maryland, Virginia, DC area, we have a lot of connections. We are gainfully employed. We're not starving over here. I'm a little fired up right now, so I'm on 10. My husband's gonna be happy. So and it's hot in here. So yeah, if you need a job, just come on through. We got you hooked up. No, seriously, we know a lot of people. All of us know somebody. We're very technical
This is
people,
true.
highly intelligent people here. We may not act like it on our lives. We are highly competent people and good at what we do. So especially me. So all right, I'm gonna close this out because I am no good and I feel like y'all talking about me. So
We
bye.
wouldn't do that.
All right, guys. I'll chat you guys up on Monday.
All right.